Life is full of twists and turns, where even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple across decades, changing lives in ways we could never predict. In today's story, we dive deep into a tale of compassion, gratitude, and the transformative power of love. It begins with a young boy, desperate and lost, and a widow who offered her last bit of hope. Little did they know, their bond would intertwine their destinies in a way neither could have imagined. As we journey through this heartfelt narrative, you'll witness the strength of human connection and the profound lessons we can all learn from a single selfless act. If you find yourself moved by this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share your own thoughts in the comments. Here's a question for you. What is one small act of kindness you've experienced or offered that has stayed with you? Write below something like, "Kindness transforms lives and inspires miracles." Let's spread the magic of compassion together. Now let's begin our journey into this touching story with the first chapter. Daryl was just a boy, not more than 14, when life first thrust upon him the weight of responsibility. His father, Mr. Mitch, had worked tirelessly to ensure his children had the education he never did. One morning, he handed Daryl the savings that would cover an entire term's school fees, some accumulated through months of backbreaking labor. "Guard this money like your future depends on it," his father said, his calloused hands lingering over the worn bills. "Because it does," Daryl promised, but promises are fragile things. The journey to the school was a short one, but fate intervened. As he walked through the bustling marketplace, his attention was drawn to a street performer, a man juggling flaming torches. It was captivating, and for a moment, Daryl forgot about the money in his pocket. In that single lapse of vigilance, someone else did not forget. The pouch of coins vanished as swiftly as smoke dissipates in the wind. When Daryl realized what had happened, panic consumed him. He searched frantically, retracing his steps through the crowded lanes, asking vendors if they had seen anything. Each inquiry met the same response, a shake of the head and a look of pity. By the time the sun began to set, Daryl sat slumped by the roadside, tears streaming down his face. That's when she appeared. Madame Christie was a widow known in the neighborhood for her quiet resilience. Despite her own struggles, she always carried an air of dignity. She spotted the boy and approached gently, her voice soft but firm. "Child, what troubles you so?" Through sobs and hiccups, Daryl explained his predicament. He expected scolding or dismissal, but instead, her eyes filled with compassion. "I don't have much," she said, pulling out a small tattered purse. Inside were a few coins, barely enough for her own needs. "But take this. It might not be enough for the full fees, but it's a start." Daryl hesitated. "But what about you? How will you manage?" She smiled, a bittersweet curve of her lips. "When you help someone in need, child, the universe has a way of taking care of you." He didn't understand the depth of her words at the time. All he knew was that her kindness had lifted the crushing weight from his shoulders. With her meager contribution, Daryl was able to negotiate with the school to accept partial payment, promising to bring the rest later. Though the incident left him shaken, it also planted a seed of determination in his heart. He vowed to never let such carelessness define him again. As Daryl grew older, he never forgot Madame Christie's generosity. Her words echoed in his mind during moments of hardship, and her sacrifice became a guiding principle. He worked diligently, excelling in his studies and eventually earning a scholarship to study medicine. Years passed, and Daryl transformed from the boy who lost his father's hard-earned money into a respected doctor known for his compassion and skill. But no matter how far he climbed, one thought remained with him: the debt he owed to the widow who had given so much when she had so little. Life has a strange way of bringing people full circle. One day, as Daryl was reviewing his patient list at the hospital, a name stopped him cold: Christie Emerson. Could it be her? He rushed to the ward, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. When he saw her, there was no mistaking it. Time had etched deep lines into her face, and her frail frame spoke of years of hardship. But her eyes, those eyes that had once gazed at him with unshakable kindness, remained the same. Their reunion was bittersweet. Madame Christie was no longer the vibrant woman who had saved Daryl, but her spirit was unbroken. What happened next would test Daryl's gratitude, resolve, and ability to give back in ways he never anticipated. And as their paths intertwined once more, life would reveal yet another twist, one that would lead Daryl to a love he never saw coming. Stay with us as we explore how generosity, even in the face of scarcity, can change lives forever. Madame Christie was a woman whose life had been defined by hardship. After losing her husband in an accident years earlier, she had found herself navigating the world alone, raising her 2 daughters while battling the relentless grip of poverty. Yet, in all her struggles, she had never allowed despair to cloud her ability to care for others. Her modest home reflected her circumstances. The walls, though worn, were adorned with framed photographs of her family, a testament to the love that had endured despite the loss. The furniture was simple and functional, but every corner of her home radiated warmth. Madame Christie believed in making the best of what little she had, a belief that shaped her every decision, including the one that changed Daryl's life forever. The day she gave Daryl her last coins, she had spent the morning deliberating over whether to purchase bread or save for her rent. The week had been particularly harsh. An illness had kept her from taking on sewing jobs, her primary source of income. Still, when she saw the boy sitting on the roadside, his despair mirroring her own struggles, she felt compelled to act. Daryl's story touched a nerve within her. She saw not just a desperate boy, but a reflection of the countless times she had prayed for help during her darkest hours. She remembered nights spent comforting her youngest daughter, Sarah, when they couldn't afford proper meals. Those memories fueled her resolve. "I couldn't bear the thought of him losing his education," she would later recount. "It reminded me too much of what my own children went through." In truth, Madame Christie wasn't just giving Daryl coins, she was giving him hope. And in doing so, she found a renewed sense of purpose in herself. That single moment reminded her that even in scarcity, generosity could light a fire within the soul, rekindling hope not only for the receiver, but also for the giver. For Daryl, the act was transformative. The coins she offered weren't just a temporary solution to his problem. They became a symbol of resilience and responsibility. He began to see the world differently, understanding the weight of trust and the profound impact of selflessness. The event also became a turning point in his relationship with his father. When Daryl confessed to Mr. Mitch what had happened, he expected anger. Instead, his father surprised him with an unexpected response. "Kindness like that, boy," Mr. Mitch said after a long silence, "is worth more than the money she gave you. You make sure you repay it someday, not just to her, but to others as well." This conversation became a cornerstone of Daryl's moral compass, a lesson he carried with him long after his childhood. But Madame Christie's kindness came at a cost. The coins she gave away meant she couldn't pay the full rent that month. Her landlord, an impatient man with little empathy for her situation, issued an ultimatum: pay by the next week or face eviction. For Madame Christie, this wasn't an unfamiliar predicament. Over the years, she had learned to navigate these challenges with grace. Leaning on her resourcefulness and the goodwill of her neighbors, she took on extra sewing work, stayed up late into the night stitching garments, and managed to scrape together just enough to keep her home. However, her resilience wasn't without its toll. The sleepless nights, the constant worry about making ends meet, and the physical strain of her work weighed heavily on her health. Her daughters noticed her declining strength, but lacked the means to ease her burden. Despite these struggles, Madame Christie never regretted helping Daryl. "What good is living," she would often say, "if we forget to be human?" The years that followed were a testament to the enduring power of her generosity. Daryl, deeply moved by her act of kindness, worked tirelessly to honor the promise he had made to himself. He excelled in school, earning scholarships that carried him through medical school. Through his journey, he often thought of Madame Christie, imagining how he might one day repay her. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. The opportunity to give back would not come as he had expected. Instead, it arrived in the form of her own need, a need that would reunite them under extraordinary circumstances. As Dariel's life ascended toward success, Madame Christie's struggles persisted, reaching a critical juncture. When their paths crossed again, it wasn't just Dariel's turn to repay her kindness. It was a moment for both of them to rediscover the enduring power of compassion. What awaited them was a reunion that would heal old wounds and forge new connections, one that would even open the door to an unexpected love story. Stay with us as we explore how acts of kindness ripple through time, creating bonds stronger than we can ever imagine. The years drifted by, as they often do, carrying with them the memories of youth and the weight of experience. For Dariel, the boy who once sat weeping on the roadside, life had blossomed into something remarkable. His dedication to his studies and his relentless determination to honor the kindness shown to him had borne fruit. Now a respected doctor, Dariel had built a career on a foundation of compassion and empathy, values instilled in him during his most vulnerable moments. Patients often commented on his warmth, how he listened with genuine care, and how his presence alone seemed to ease their pain. While his colleagues admired his skill, it was his humanity that set him apart, a legacy of the widow's influence on his life. Despite his success, Dariel never forgot Madame Christie. Her face, lined with hardship yet radiant with kindness, remained vivid in his memory. Her act of generosity had not only saved his education, but had also shaped his character. He carried her lesson like a talisman, a reminder of the transformative power of selflessness. In quiet moments, Dariel would reflect on the promise he had made to himself, that one day he would repay her kindness. But as life became busier, filled with the demands of his growing practice and the responsibilities of adulthood, the opportunity to find her seemed to slip further away. Still, the universe has its way of weaving paths together in the most unexpected of ways. One fateful day, as Dariel sifted through patient files, a name caught his eye. Christie Emerson. His breath caught in his throat. Could it be her? The name was not uncommon, but something in his heart told him it wasn't a coincidence. He hurried to the ward where she was listed, his pulse quickening with a mixture of hope and apprehension. When he entered the room, time seemed to pause. There she was, the woman who had changed his life. Age had taken its toll, her once vibrant energy now subdued, her frail hands resting on the edge of the hospital bed, but her eyes still held the same kindness that had comforted a lost boy years ago. "Madame Christie," he said softly, his voice trembling. She looked up, her eyes meeting his. Recognition flickered there, followed by a puzzled smile. "Do I know you, young man?" Dariel knelt beside her bed, his heart heavy with gratitude and sorrow. "You may not remember me, but I've never forgotten you. I'm Dariel, the boy you helped all those years ago when I lost my school fees." A moment of silence passed, then her face softened with understanding. "Dariel," she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek, "you've grown into such a fine man." Their reunion was bittersweet. Madame Christie had been admitted to the hospital with a severe illness. Her health deteriorated after years of unrelenting hardship. Her daughters had done their best to care for her, but medical bills and daily expenses had strained them to the breaking point. Dariel quickly took charge of her care, ensuring she received the best treatment possible. "This is the least I can do," he told her, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my life when I was just a boy. Now it's my turn to save yours." For Madame Christie, the experience was humbling. She had never expected anything in return for her act of kindness, believing that the joy of helping others was its own reward. Yet, as she watched Dariel, now a successful doctor and a man of integrity, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her sacrifice, small as it seemed at the time, had not been in vain. In the weeks that followed, Dariel's visits to her bedside became a routine. They would talk for hours, sharing stories of their lives and the lessons they had learned. Madame Christie spoke of her daughters, Sarah and Barbara, and the challenges they had faced together. Dariel, in turn, shared how her kindness had inspired him to pursue medicine, choosing a path that allowed him to give back to others. Their conversations were filled with laughter and tears, moments of vulnerability that deepened their bond. Dariel came to see her not just as the widow who had once helped him, but as a mother figure, a symbol of resilience and love. One evening, as they sat together, Madame Christie made a quiet confession. "Daryl," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "there were times when I thought life had been too cruel, that I had nothing left to give. But seeing you now, knowing the impact of that one small act, it's given me hope again." Her words stayed with him, a poignant reminder of the ripple effects of kindness. Daryl realized that their connection was more than a chance encounter. It was proof that even the smallest gestures could create waves of change, carrying hope across years and generations. Just as Daryl thought the reunion couldn't be more meaningful, life presented him with an unexpected twist. Madame Christie's other daughter, Barbara, strong, compassionate, and fiercely loyal, she captured his heart in ways he never anticipated. But their budding relationship would soon face challenges that tested their love and resolve. What happens when love meets resistance and loyalty collides with family expectations? Stay with us as we uncover the next chapter of this extraordinary journey, a story of love, conflict, and the triumph of the human spirit. For Madame Christie, life had often been a series of uphill battles, but none as devastating as the loss of her youngest daughter, Sarah. Sarah had been a beacon of light for their family, a spirited soul with an infectious laugh that could brighten even the darkest of days. Her untimely passing, after a brief and aggressive illness, left an unfillable void in their lives. Barbara, the older of the two daughters, shouldered the emotional weight of the tragedy alongside her mother. Together, they navigated the aftermath, piecing together their shattered lives one fragile step at a time. But even with Barbara's unwavering support, the pain lingered, compounded by their ongoing financial struggles. By the time Madame Christie met Daryl again, she had reached a breaking point. Her health had deteriorated, her spirit had dimmed, and her once unshakable resolve was teetering on the edge. Yet, in Daryl's presence, she found a glimmer of something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Daryl was more than a doctor to her. He was a living testament to the power of kindness. His success was a reminder that her sacrifices had mattered, that her life had meaning beyond the hardship she had endured. As he cared for her with the same tenderness she had once shown him, she began to see the possibility of better days ahead. Their conversations became a lifeline for Madame Christie. Daryl spoke not only of his gratitude, but also of his belief that life, despite its challenges, always offered moments of grace. Even in the darkest times, he told her one evening, there's always a spark waiting to ignite. You just need to hold on long enough to see it. Those words stayed with her, rekindling a small but steady flame within her. Daryl's presence also had a profound impact on Barbara. She had always been fiercely independent, a trait forged by years of adversity. As the sole caregiver for her mother, she had learned to rely on no one but herself. But Daryl's genuine concern and unwavering commitment to her mother's recovery challenged her guarded nature. Barbara was struck by his humility and the sincerity of his actions. He didn't treat their family's struggles as a burden, but rather as an opportunity to repay a debt of kindness. His ability to find joy in service, even amid adversity, resonated deeply with her. Slowly, she began to let her walls down. The connection between Daryl and Barbara grew naturally, rooted in shared values and mutual respect. Their conversations started with practical matters: her mother's treatment plan, financial concerns, but soon evolved into discussions about life, dreams, and the lessons they had learned from hardship. Barbara admired Daryl's dedication, not just to his career, but to the people around him. He, in turn, was captivated by her resilience and the quiet strength she exuded. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a recognition of the pain they both carried and the hope they still dared to nurture. However, their blossoming relationship was not without its challenges. When Daryl's father, Mr. Mitch, learned of his son's growing affection for Barbara, he was less than pleased. A proud man who valued status and success, Mr. Mitch believed that Daryl, now a respected doctor, should seek a partner from a similar background. Barbara's modest upbringing and her family struggles made her, in his eyes, an unsuitable match. "You've worked so hard to get where you are," Mr. Mitch told Daryl one evening. You deserve someone who can elevate you, not hold you back. Daryl listened patiently, but firmly disagreed. Father, he replied, Barbara is not defined by her circumstances. She's one of the strongest, most compassionate people I've ever met. If you took the time to know her, you'd see that. The tension between father and son added a new layer of complexity to Daryl and Barbara's relationship. While Barbara understood the societal pressures that influenced Mr. Mitch's views, she refused to let them dictate her worth. I won't apologize for where I come from, she told Daryl one evening, but I also won't let it stand in the way of us. If this is something you believe in, we'll face it together. Daryl was inspired by her courage and determination. Her words solidified his resolve to bridge the gap between his father's expectations and the truth of his own heart. Meanwhile, Madame Christie watched their growing bond with a mix of hope and apprehension. She knew the challenges they faced, but she also believed in the transformative power of love. If anyone can overcome this, she told Barbara, it's you and Daryl. You're both stronger than you realize. Madame Christie's health began to improve, thanks to Daryl's care and Barbara's unwavering support. As she regained her strength, she became more vocal in her encouragement of their relationship, offering wisdom drawn from her own experiences. Love isn't about where you start, she said one afternoon. It's about where you're willing to go together. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. As Daryl and Barbara faced the challenges of family opposition, their love continued to grow, proving that true connections can withstand even the strongest resistance. But would Mr. Mitch come to see the value of their bond? Or would his pride stand in the way of reconciliation? In the next chapter, we'll explore the intense family conflict that threatened to divide them and the profound lessons learned along the way. Don't miss how loyalty, humility, and love create the foundation for acceptance and transformation. Daryl had always held a deep respect for his father, Mr. Mitch, a man of integrity and discipline. Mr. Mitch had worked tirelessly to provide for his family, embodying the ideals of responsibility and ambition. But as much as Daryl admired his father, he also recognized the rigidity in his values, a tendency to view the world through a lens of tradition and expectation. This rigidity became glaringly apparent as Daryl's relationship with Barbara deepened. Despite their shared love and mutual respect, Mr. Mitch viewed Barbara's background as an insurmountable flaw. Her family struggles, her modest lifestyle, and her humble demeanor clashed with his vision of what a partner for his son should represent. For Daryl, this created a painful dilemma. On one side stood the woman he loved, whose resilience and compassion had touched his soul. On the other stood the father who had shaped his moral compass, a man whose approval he had always sought. The tension first came to a head during the family dinner. Daryl had invited Barbara to meet his father, hoping the encounter would soften Mr. Mitch's stance. Barbara, though nervous, arrived with her characteristic poise, determined to make a good impression. The evening began cordially enough. Mr. Mitch asked polite but distant questions about her background, her family, and her aspirations. Barbara answered with honesty, her humility shining through. But as the conversation wore on, subtle remarks from Mr. Mitch began to reveal his disapproval. "I admire your perseverance, Barbara," he said, his tone measured but sharp. "It takes strength to overcome the kind of challenges your family has faced. But don't you think a partnership should be built on equal footing? Someone with Daryl's accomplishments deserves compatibility." Barbara held her composure, though her hands tightened around her napkin. Daryl, sensing the tension, interjected. "Father, compatibility isn't about status or wealth," he said firmly. "It's about shared values and mutual respect. Barbara and I have that in abundance." Mr. Mitch's gaze hardened. "Values alone don't build a future, Daryl. Practicality matters. Stability matters. Love without foundation is a house built on sand." The conversation left a lingering bitterness, but it also strengthened Daryl's resolve. That night, as he and Barbara walked home, he apologized for his father's behavior. "You have nothing to apologize for," Barbara replied, her voice steady. "I know what I bring to the table, and I know your father's concerns come from a place of love. But I won't let anyone make me feel less than I am." Her words reminded Daryl why he had fallen in love with her. Barbara's strength was not born of defiance but of self-respect, a quiet, unyielding belief in her own worth. In the weeks that followed, Daryl took every opportunity to speak with his father about Barbara. He recounted stories of her resilience, her kindness, and the way she had supported her mother through unimaginable hardships. "She's everything you taught me to value," Daryl told him one evening. "She's honest, hardworking, and compassionate. Isn't that what matters most?" But Mr. Mitch remained unconvinced. "It's not just about her, Daryl. It's about the life you've built, the future you've worked so hard for. I don't want you to compromise that." Daryl's patience was wearing thin, but he refused to let frustration cloud his judgment. Instead, he sought to prove through actions what words couldn't convey. Meanwhile, Barbara faced her own struggles. While she admired Daryl's determination to bridge the gap with his father, she also grappled with feelings of inadequacy. She wondered if their love could withstand the weight of Mr. Mitch's disapproval, or if her presence in Daryl's life was causing more harm than good. Madame Christie, sensing her daughter's turmoil, offered quiet reassurance. "Barbara," she said one evening as they sat together, "love is never easy, especially when it challenges old beliefs. But if anyone can change a mind as stubborn as Mr. Mitch's, it's Daryl. He sees the best in you because it's there to be seen." Her words were a balm to Barbara's spirit, renewing her resolve to stand by Daryl through the storm. The turning point came during an unexpected crisis. Mr. Mitch, a man who prided himself on his self-sufficiency, suffered a health scare that left him temporarily incapacitated. In the days that followed, Barbara and Daryl took turns caring for him, ensuring he had everything he needed. Barbara's quiet acts of service, preparing meals, organizing his medication, and offering companionship during his recovery, did not go unnoticed. Mr. Mitch, despite his initial resistance, found himself reassessing his opinion of her. One evening, as Barbara brought him a cup of tea, he finally spoke. "You're a remarkable woman, Barbara," he said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. "I misjudged you." Barbara, taken aback, simply smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Mitch. I know your concerns came from a place of love for Daryl. I respect that." Her humility and grace in that moment broke the final barriers in Mr. Mitch's heart. The reconciliation was not instant, but it was sincere. Over time, Mr. Mitch came to see Barbara not as a threat to Daryl's future, but as a partner who complemented his strengths. Their shared values, mutual respect, and unwavering commitment to one another became the foundation of his acceptance. For Daryl, the experience was a profound reminder of the power of persistence and the importance of standing by one's convictions. His father's eventual approval was not just a victory for their relationship, but a testament to the transformative power of love and understanding. With Mr. Mitch's acceptance, Daryl and Barbara's love story reached a new chapter, one of celebration, unity, and hope. But the lessons they learned along the way would shape their future in ways they hadn't anticipated. As we move forward, we'll witness the ultimate triumph of humility and gratitude over pride and prejudice, culminating in a moment that brings their journey full circle. Don't miss how the values of love and kindness ripple outward, creating a legacy that will inspire generations to come. The morning of Daryl and Barbara's wedding dawned with a brilliance that seemed almost symbolic. The sun cast its golden light over the gathering, illuminating the lush greenery of the outdoor venue where friends and family had assembled. It was a day not just of celebration, but of triumph, of love overcoming obstacles, of reconciliation, and of the enduring bonds forged through kindness. Madame Christie sat near the front, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her eyes welling with tears. For her, this day was more than the union of two souls. It was a culmination of a journey that had begun with a simple act of generosity years ago. She watched Daryl with pride, the boy she had once helped, now a man of unwavering integrity. Beside him stood Barbara, her strength and grace shining brighter than ever. Mr. Mitch, too, sat in quiet reflection. His initial resistance to their union had been strong, but the months leading up to the wedding had softened him. He had come to see Barbara not only as a worthy partner for his son, but as a vital part of their family's future. As the ceremony began, the officiant spoke of love as the foundation for all things meaningful. He quoted a line that resonated deeply with everyone present. "Love is not about possession, but about appreciation. It flourishes in humility and gratitude, growing stronger in the face of adversity." Daryl and Barbara exchanged vows that spoke to the essence of their journey. They promised not only to support and cherish each other, but also to continue the legacy of compassion and empathy that had brought them together. After the ceremony, the reception unfolded with a mix of joy and nostalgia. Stories were shared, laughter echoed across the venue, and even the most stoic among the guests found themselves moved. One moment stood out above all others. During his toast, Daryl turned to Madame Christie, his voice steady but full of emotion. "Years ago," he began, "when I was just a boy, this extraordinary woman changed my life with a single act of kindness. She gave me hope when I had none, and her sacrifice taught me the value of selflessness. Today, I stand here not only as her grateful beneficiary, but as someone determined to carry forward her legacy." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "Madame Christie, you didn't just save my education, you saved my future. And because of you, I learned that the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples that touch countless lives. I owe everything to you." The room erupted into applause, but Madame Christie, overcome with emotion, could only shake her head and whisper, "No, Daryl, you owe it to yourself." The wedding was a celebration of more than just a couple's love. It was a testament to the power of human connection, to the idea that kindness and humility can bridge even the widest divides. But the lessons didn't end there. Over the years, Daryl and Barbara continued to embody the values that had brought them together. They opened a community clinic, offering affordable medical care to underserved populations. Madame Christie, despite her age, volunteered there regularly, sewing blankets for patients and offering words of comfort to those in need. Even Mr. Mitch, once so resistant to change, found himself transformed by the experience. He became an advocate for the clinic, using his resources to support its growth. His relationship with Barbara grew into one of mutual respect, and he often remarked on how she had taught him to see the world through a different lens. As time went on, the story of Daryl and Barbara's journey became a source of inspiration for all who knew them. Their commitment to kindness, humility, and gratitude created a ripple effect that extended far beyond their family, touching lives in ways they could never have imagined. In her later years, Madame Christie often reflected on the path her life had taken. "If I've learned one thing," she would say, "it's that the smallest seeds of kindness can grow into the most magnificent trees. You may not live to see the fruits, but the shade will comfort generations to come." As the years rolled by, the lessons of this remarkable story continued to unfold, proving that the values of humility, gratitude, and love are timeless. But what happens when we take these lessons and apply them to our own lives? Join us in the final reflection as we explore how this story challenges us to choose compassion over pride, to embrace kindness as a daily practice, and to create ripples of positivity that transform the world around us. Stay tuned to discover how the legacy of one small act can inspire miracles for years to come. Life has a way of weaving its lessons into the fabric of our existence, often through the most unexpected threads. Daryl and Barbara's journey, deeply rooted in compassion and gratitude, became a living testament to the truth that kindness, no matter how small, has a ripple effect far greater than we can ever anticipate. As their life together unfolded, the couple remained steadfast in their mission to spread the values that had shaped their union. Their community clinic became more than just a place for medical care. It became a haven of hope where each patient was treated with dignity and compassion. One such patient was Mr. Albright, an elderly man with no family to care for him. He came to the clinic seeking treatment for a chronic illness, but found much more a sense of belonging. Barbara, noticing his isolation, organized visits from volunteers and ensured he had the support he needed. Daryl, in turn, treated him not just as a patient, but as a cherished member of their community. "What you've done for me," Mr. Albright once said, is something I thought I'd never experience again. Kindness without expectation. It was moments like these that reinforced the couple's belief in the enduring power of selflessness. Madame Christie, too, played a pivotal role in fostering this culture of compassion. Despite her advancing age, she continued to contribute in ways that only she could. Her stories of resilience and love inspired countless visitors to the clinic, reminding them that adversity could be a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Her favorite saying, etched into a plaque at the clinic's entrance, became its unofficial motto: "No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted." Even Mr. Mitch, who had once clung to rigid notions of status and success, found himself transformed by the family's collective mission. He became an advocate for the clinic's outreach programs, using his influence to secure funding and resources. His pride in Daryl and Barbara's work grew with each passing year, and his initial doubts about their union faded into distant memory. One evening, as he and Barbara sat together discussing a new initiative, he turned to her with an expression of quiet humility. "You've taught me more than I ever thought possible," he admitted, "about love, about seeing people for who they truly are. I was wrong to judge you, and I'm grateful every day that Daryl didn't listen to me." Barbara smiled, her forgiveness long since given. "Growth is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, Mr. Mitch, and you've embraced it beautifully." The impact of their work extended far beyond their immediate community. News of the clinic's efforts began to spread, attracting volunteers, donations, and even recognition from organizations dedicated to social change. But Daryl and Barbara never lost sight of their core mission: to honor the legacy of kindness that had brought them together. When asked in an interview about the inspiration behind their work, Daryl replied, "It all started with one woman who gave everything she had to help a boy she barely knew. That act of kindness became the foundation for everything we've built. Our goal is simple: to keep that ripple going." The years rolled on, and the ripples of their kindness continued to touch lives in ways they could never have foreseen. Children who had been treated at the clinic grew up to become doctors, nurses, and social workers, inspired by the care they had received. Families who had once struggled found stability and hope, often returning to the clinic not as patients, but as volunteers. Even in moments of personal difficulty, Daryl and Barbara found strength in their shared purpose. They faced challenges with grace, knowing that their work was part of something far greater than themselves. As Madame Christie's health declined, the family rallied around her, ensuring her final years were filled with love and gratitude. She passed away peacefully, surrounded by those she had touched with her generosity. Her funeral was a celebration of a life well lived, attended by hundreds whose lives she had quietly influenced. Daryl, standing beside Barbara, spoke of the lessons she had imparted. "She taught us that kindness is not just an act but a way of life. Her legacy will live on in every life we touch, every moment we choose compassion over indifference." The story of Daryl, Barbara, and Madame Christie is a poignant reminder that our greatest challenges often hold the seeds of our most profound growth. It teaches us that love, humility, and gratitude have the power to bridge divides, heal wounds, and inspire generations. As you reflect on this story, consider the ways you can bring kindness into your own life. Every gesture, no matter how small, has the potential to spark a ripple effect that can transform the world around you. Now we invite you to take this message to heart. In the comments, share a phrase that resonates with you, something like, "I choose kindness to create ripples of love and hope." Let's inspire one another to make compassion a daily practice. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories that uplift, empower, and remind us of the beauty of the human spirit. Remember, the smallest act of kindness can create ripples that last a lifetime. So, what ripple will you create today? Love, they say, often finds us in the most unexpected of circumstances. And so it was for Daryl and Barbara. What began as a bond forged in shared concern for Madame Christie's health soon blossomed into something far deeper. Daryl's admiration for Barbara grew with each passing day. Her unwavering dedication to her mother, her quiet strength in the face of hardship, and her ability to find joy even in small moments captivated him. Barbara, in turn, found herself drawn to Dariel's warmth, his humility despite his success, and the way he treated every person with respect and care. Their connection deepened during late-night conversations in the hospital cafeteria, where they often met after long days of tending to Madame Christie. It was during one such conversation that Barbara opened up about her fears. "I've spent my whole life taking care of others," she admitted, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Sometimes I wonder if there's anything left of me that's just mine." Dariel looked at her, his gaze steady. "Barbara, what you've given to others doesn't diminish who you are. It's a testament to your strength and heart. But I want you to know it's okay to let someone take care of you, too." That moment marked the beginning of something neither of them could ignore. As their relationship unfolded, it wasn't without its challenges. Barbara hesitated to fully embrace her feelings, fearing that her background and her struggles might hold Dariel back. "You're a doctor, Dariel," she said one evening, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've worked so hard to build this life. I don't want to be the reason people think less of you." Dariel's response was immediate and firm. "Barbara, if anyone thinks less of me because I love you, that's their problem, not ours. You are my equal in every way that matters, and nothing will change that." His words, spoken with such conviction, dissolved her doubts. For the first time in years, Barbara allowed herself to hope, not just for her mother's recovery, but for her own happiness. Their relationship, however, faced a formidable obstacle: Mr. Mitch's disapproval. His belief that Barbara's humble background was incompatible with Dariel's success created a rift that tested their resolve. But Dariel and Barbara stood firm, their love strengthening under the weight of opposition. They found solace in each other, drawing on the lessons they had learned from Madame Christie about perseverance and faith in the face of adversity. It was during this time that Dariel made a promise to Barbara. No matter what challenges they faced, he would always choose her. "Love isn't about perfection," he told her. "It's about standing together, even when the world seems determined to pull us apart." Their commitment to one another was further solidified during a pivotal moment in Madame Christie's recovery. One evening, as they sat by her bedside, she took their hands in hers, her voice filled with quiet wisdom. "Love is the greatest act of courage," she said. "It's not about avoiding pain or conflict. It's about choosing each other every single day, no matter the obstacles. And I see that courage in both of you." Her blessing became a cornerstone of their relationship, a reminder that love, when nurtured with compassion and humility, could overcome even the greatest odds. Though their love was strong, the road ahead was not without its trials. Mr. Mitch's resistance would soon escalate into a confrontation that threatened to divide the family. But what followed was a journey of redemption, as humility and forgiveness paved the way for acceptance. Stay with us as we delve into the intense family dynamics that tested Dariel and Barbara's bond and revealed the true meaning of loyalty and love. Vua Vankar Agra para o próximo tópico. Final reflections y inspiration for the future. Mantendo o roteiro alanjado como os objetivos propostos. Peco so mesa momento. As Dariel, Barbara, and Mr. Mitch's journey unfolded, it became clear that the core of their story lay in the choices they made, not just in moments of joy, but in times of conflict and doubt. For Mr. Mitch, his resistance to Barbara's place in his son's life had less to do with her as a person and more with his own fears. His pride, rooted in years of hard work and ambition, had blinded him to the deeper truths about love and humility. It wasn't until he faced his own vulnerabilities, during the health scare that brought him closer to Barbara, that he began to understand what truly mattered. "Sometimes," Mr. Mitch admitted to Dariel during a quiet moment, "we hold on to the wrong things because we think they'll keep us strong. But strength isn't in walls, it's in bridges." This moment of introspection marked a turning point, not just for Mr. Mitch but for the entire family. His willingness to let go of his pride allowed him to see Barbara for who she truly was, a partner who complemented Dariel's strengths and a woman whose values aligned with the foundation he had worked so hard to instill in his son. Barbara, for her part, met Mr. Mitch's gradual acceptance with grace. She never demanded his approval, but instead allowed their shared experiences to reshape his perspective. In time, their relationship grew into one of mutual respect, built on the understanding that love and loyalty transcended social boundaries. For Daryl, the journey was a reaffirmation of the values he had carried with him since childhood, values instilled by Madame Christie's selfless act. Her kindness had not only saved him, but it also shaped his ability to navigate life's complexities with compassion and integrity. On the day of his wedding, as he stood beside Barbara and exchanged vows, Daryl reflected on how far they had come. His promise to her was not just a commitment of love, but a declaration of the lessons they had learned together: to choose kindness over judgment, humility over pride, and love over fear every single day. This chapter of their lives served as a powerful reminder that growth often comes from the most challenging experiences. Mr. Mitch's transformation symbolized the triumph of humility over prejudice, while Daryl and Barbara's unwavering bond proved that love, when nurtured with patience and understanding, could withstand even the strongest opposition. But their story didn't end there. The lessons they learned became the foundation for the legacy they would build together, a legacy that continues to inspire those around them to embrace compassion and let go of pride. As the years passed, Daryl and Barbara's journey became a source of inspiration, not only for their community, but for countless others who heard their story. Their work at the community clinic flourished, and their commitment to kindness and humility touched lives far beyond their immediate circle. One of the most profound impacts was on the children who visited the clinic. Many of them, growing up in challenging circumstances, saw Daryl and Barbara as proof that their futures were not defined by their current struggles. "You taught me to believe in people," one young boy told Daryl during a clinic visit, "because someone believed in me, just like you do." These words echoed the very principles that had guided their journey, the belief that every act of kindness, no matter how small, could create ripples of change. Daryl often reflected on the legacy they were building. "Every day is an opportunity to choose kindness," he would say to his team. "It doesn't have to be grand. A smile, a helping hand, a moment of patience, all of these can transform a life in ways we may never see." Barbara, too, embraced this philosophy. As a pillar of strength within the clinic and the community, she encouraged others to see the potential in themselves and to pay forward the kindness they had received. The legacy of Madame Christie also lived on, not just in the lives of Daryl and Barbara, but in the countless people they inspired. Her story, shared during clinic gatherings and community events, served as a reminder that even in the face of hardship, generosity could spark miracles. As Daryl often said, "We are all part of someone's ripple effect." The question is, what kind of ripple do you want to create? The story of Daryl, Barbara, and Madame Christie is a powerful testament to the impact of love, humility, and kindness. Now it's your turn to take this message to heart. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. In the comments, let us know, what act of kindness has changed your life? Or how have you created ripples of kindness in the lives of others? Here's a phrase to guide your reflection: "I choose kindness as a way to inspire love and hope in the world." Let's continue spreading these ripples of compassion, one small act at a time. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and remember, the power to change the world starts with you.